The House of Broken Carols. There was a small village deep in a snow-covered forest where winter was so cold that people rarely left their homes. Christmas was the most important celebration of the year. Every family lit up their houses, decorated trees, and sang carols in the streets. But there was one house at the end of a dark, forgotten road where no one dared to go. It was called the House of Broken Carols. Legend had it that many years ago, a wealthy and powerful family lived there. The parents, obsessed with perfection, demanded that their children be the best at everything, especially music. Year after year, they forced their children to practice carols until their voices were as perfect as a heavenly choir. If one of them made a mistake, the punishment was severe. It was said that the December nights echoed with muffled sobs and broken songs. One Christmas Eve, the neighbors noticed the house was dark and silent. Something was wrong. The next day, no one answered when villagers knocked on the door. They broke in and found something horrifying. The entire family was seated at the dining table, their eyes open and frozen in time. On the gramophone, a scratched record played a distorted carol over and over. No one knew what had happened, but from then on, the house was abandoned. Years passed, and though many tried to live in the house, no one stayed for more than a night. All claimed to hear voices singing, footsteps on the stairs, and the sound of a piano playing on its own. But the most terrifying part was that, exactly at midnight, a twisted, eerie melody began to play. Those who heard it felt something creeping closer, whispering words they couldn't understand. One Christmas, 3 teenagers from the village, Clara, Andrew, and Louis, tired of the same old stories, decided it was time to prove the legend was a lie. They made a pact to spend the night in the house and record anything they found. They arrived just as the sun was setting, armed with flashlights and an old camera. The house was as always. Broken windows, a battered door, and an air colder than the outside. Inside, they saw furniture covered in dust, a dried and withered Christmas tree in the corner, and an out-of-tune piano in the living room. They decided to stick together, though every step they took seemed to echo unnaturally loud. The first hour passed without incident, but at 11 o'clock, everything changed. Louis, exploring an old bedroom, found a music book. As he flipped through it, a sheet fell to the floor. When he picked it up, a chill ran through him. The page was stained with dark spots, as if someone had cried ink onto it. "Did you hear that?" Clara asked suddenly, stopping in her tracks. They all listened closely and heard a faint whisper. Like someone practicing a song, coming from upstairs. They climbed the creaking staircase, each step protesting as if the house were alive. At the top, they found a door locked tight. "It's probably empty," Andrew said, but just as he turned to leave, the door creaked open on its own. Inside was a room frozen in ice, as if caught in eternal winter. In the center stood a gramophone that hadn't been there before. It switched on by itself, and a distorted voice began to sing. "Silent night, deadly night," Clara screamed and bolted, but when the others tried to follow, the door slammed shut, trapping them inside. Andrew and Louis begged and yelled, but their voices vanished into the house's eerie echo. Meanwhile, the gramophone continued playing, the song speeding up as if someone were losing patience. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and a shadow began to form in the corner of the room. It looked like a child, but its face was hidden in darkness. It extended a hand toward them, and the gramophone's voice rasped, "Why'd you ruin my song?" Trembling, Andrew dropped the sheet music he had been holding. "We didn't mean to disturb anything. We were just curious," he cried. The shadow leaned toward the book and touched it. Instantly, the pages ignited with a blue flame. "If you cannot sing, do not enter my house," it whispered before vanishing. At that moment, the door flew open, and the boys ran out without looking back. They found Clara waiting at the edge of the woods, pale and shaking. "What happened?" they asked, but she only whispered, "The voices, they told me to leave." The three never spoke of that night again, but the following year, on the same date, someone from the village reported hearing a choir singing from the house. It was a perfect melody, too perfect to be human. Since then, no one has dared to go near, but villagers say if you pass by the house on Christmas, you might hear a broken carol, and if you sing off key, something or someone might come for you. And the end. Well, the end came for all those who dared to sing out of tune. Because in the House of Broken Carols, the songs never end, and Christmas always carries echoes of something darker than the falling snow. The end.